Hey, tonight I'm angry at the education system. I'm talking about the education system here in the US, and I'm talking specifically about the public school system. And the reason why I'm pointing the finger at the public school system and not at the private school system is because the private school system has to earn their students. They don't get any money unless students choose to attend their schools. Public schools get paid even if no students attend because property taxes go to the public school system. And this means that a lot of parents who've actually chosen to send their kids to private school and to pay the costs to go to private school are supporting the public school at the same time because they have no option. If you live in America, you are paying for the public school system no matter the quality. And as you would expect, because you have to pay no matter the quality has gone down. This story is the one that caught my attention recently, and this is the headline out of Baltimore. A Baltimore high school student fails every class except for 3 over 4 years, and yet he's almost in the top half of his class. I'm going to repeat that. Someone who over 4 years only passed 3 classes is almost in the top half of his class, 62nd out of 120. Now, his mother is obviously irate, and if you look at the details of the case, you can understand why. This kid who was expected to graduate this year has now been sent back to the 9th grade, and if you think that is unfair, take a look at what his actual scores are. He failed all but 3 classes over 4 years and has a .13 GPA. Now, the mother was oblivious to this. I believe she works 3 jobs. There was one parent-teacher conference that was called and apparently was cancelled. But this is a kid who continually was passed. Over the last 4 years, he basically has not been in attendance in the school, and yet he has still been advanced to the next grade. And I'm not pointing the finger at this kid. I don't blame the kid at all. I blame the education system. So let's step back for a second and take a look at the education system itself. Let's take a look at how much we're spending. Let's take a look at the results that we're getting. This is the school district that spends the most on its students, New York. New York spends $24,000 per student. Think about that. $24,000 for every student for every year. And the students are only being provided instruction for, I believe, 9 months out of the year. How do the scores in New York look, considering the fact that it is the highest funded school district in the nation? Well, these are the scores on English and math. And you can see that even though the exam scores have ticked up slightly and the school officials were patting themselves on the back, the fact is that in grades 3 to 8, only 47.4% of the students were proficient in English, and only 45.6% were proficient in math. This is obviously a disaster, but when you see the details, you'll realize that the situation is so much worse than that. So keep those figures in mind, and then let's take a look and see how it breaks down ethnically, and it is a total disaster. Let's look at math first. These are New York City schools, and you can see that in math, Asian kids, 74.5% were proficient, white students, 66.6%, Hispanics, 33.2%, and African Americans, 28%. What this means is that you can't gain any comfort from the average. The Hispanic and black students are failing badly, and I don't blame those students for failing. I blame the education system, which is failing them. How do things look in English, which is obviously the language that we all use to communicate with each other? It seems like a pretty basic skill that we should have proficiency in. This is the New York School District yet again, and you can see a 68% proficiency in English for Asian kids, whites 66.6%, Hispanics 36.5%, blacks 35%. What this means is that Hispanics and blacks, only 1/3 are proficient. Only 1/3 are proficient in English and in math, despite the fact that the New York school system spends almost $25,000 per student per year. And this is not an isolated incident. We looked at Baltimore earlier, where a child who only attended 3 classes out of 4 years was almost in the top half of his class. And I will sum it up by pointing to this ridiculous statement from the San Francisco Board of Education. And this statement basically describes the idea of accomplishment and merit to be racist. This person, Alison Collins, the VP of the San Francisco Board of Education, has declared meritocracy to be racist, even in the selection of students at advanced or gifted programs. Now, I don't know if you understand the concept of advanced or gifted programs, but this means that kids who are advanced or gifted get in, and if that means only Asian kids get in, then that's what it means. But it doesn't mean that black kids and Hispanic kids are not as clever as Asian kids. I believe it's the education system. I believe it's the family environment. I believe it's work ethic. I believe there are many factors that contribute to it. I don't think there's a genetic advantage per se. I think the education system has the obligation to help the advanced kids to excel and to at least make sure that every kid, especially disadvantaged kids, gets an education and is proficient in English and math. If you take a look at how much money is being spent on education in this country, and you look at the results that are being achieved for that money, you will realize that my thesis that the education system in the US is completely and totally broken is correct. We are spending a fortune. Our kids are not even proficient. Forget about excelling. They aren't even proficient in English and math. When will we ever wake up?